Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
Welcome to the Motivated Martial Artists Podcast with me, Gavin Cook.
And me, Jackson White.
And this morning, we've got Nathan, the Megatron, Lewis on the show. So we're really excited to speak to Nathan today. Again, he's one of our sort of old day heroes that we used to look up to and watch when we used to be smashing everybody on the mat at the Clash of the Titans. And me and Jackie, as young boys, used to look on in awe. So we're super excited to get you on the show today. So hello, Nathan.
Hi, guys. How you all doing? How are you doing? Thank you for having me on. It's been, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. We've been looking forward to it, to be quite honest. It's not every day from 30 years ago, 35 years ago, you get to speak to what we saw back in the day then as one of our idols, one of our feared idols. So yeah, it's great to actually get to talk to you in person, and hopefully we're going to hear a little bit more about you. So what I'll kick off with the first question.
Sure.
So we ask this to all of our guests when we start off, because I think the background gives a good platform to understand for our listeners, to understand exactly you as an individual. So can you give us a bit of a backstory to you, where you grew up, what that was like growing up back in the day, and how you first got into martial arts?
Yeah, this is kind of strange, right? Because not many people know this. See, I was born here, right? And I left here when I was 5 years old. And I went and lived with my mum and granddad and all my uncles in Jamaica for 8 years. And whilst I was over there, Jamaicans they're tough, lovely. So while I was in primary school, I used to get picked on. And my sister's boyfriend used to do karate. And his brother was a brown belt. And we used to watch Kung Fu back in the 70s, the Kung Fu films. So he showed me a few kicks. That was it. And David Carradine was on and on. I wanted to do that. But the primary reason when I was growing up in Jamaica, it was a very competitive. If you're running, they want to win. If you know what I mean? The environment was very chill, but there is some rough people, some guys there who like to bully you. So that pushed me into wanting to learn martial art. But it's not until I returned home in 1977, then I started. What happened was some guy used to bully me, used to take my dinner money. This is honestly true.
Okay.
I could not ever know why I didn't just hit him. I was just, I don't know, I was kind of scared in a way, or what, and I didn't. And then one day he said to me, the same guy, he said to me, "Oh, I'm going to this Kung Fu place." And I thought, Kung Fu? I'm going to be jumping around like, them Kung Fu guys over the bird. So I went there, and it wasn't. It was like these guys doing forms and sitting in horse riding stands. And I'm thinking, this doesn't look like anything like the movies.
Yeah, we've all been, haven't we, Gavin?
Yeah, expected to do flying kicks on your first lesson.
Nobody's doing backflips and they're training. And I thought, you know what, let me join. So I joined, and I suffered some pain sitting in horse riding stand. But the fact that I was getting like confidence, I thought I'll continue. And that was I started in 78. And then one day this dude come to take my money, and I gave him the beating of the same dude who told me. I gave that dude a beating, right? I beat him, and then, this is bad, because he's a friend of mine now. When the teacher come and then take us to the head teacher and said, what's wrong here? And I explained to him, because he lied about breaking a clock that was very old or whatever. Just got a long story. I said, look, you can beat me. I hold my hand out, you beat me. But when I finish, I'm going to deal with it. Because all them months that it just built up. And in the end, the teacher said, all right, you go home. So he sent me home and kept the guy in the school. But I waited for him by the shop. I waited. And when he came out, I beat him again. You know what I mean? Just wrong. I know. I'm not telling you to do that, kids. But that set me on the path of like, I set me on the path of like learning martial arts to calm down, not to be, you know. But that's a bit of my backstory when I was growing up. That's not how I turned out. That's how it started.
Sure.
But it's funny though, isn't it? It's funny then when you're kids though, and you're in that environment. I know it certainly happened to me. Is that you get into a couple of scuffles at school.
Yeah.
What might be your arch enemy turns out to be a friend later on in life because because you're young and you've got testosterone pumping around your body and you don't really know how to.
He's a good lad. Now he even taught me to ice skate. He's a great lad, and I look back at my life. I wouldn't change anything of it when I was growing. There's a few things I'd like to miss out, but I wouldn't change anything of it because it's what made me the person I am today. So when I was running, sprinting, when I was doing gymnastics, I had to walk 7 miles to a gymnastic club. And the reason why I did that when I was young, again, I see these guys doing kung fu and flipping. I wanted to do that. I wanted to, but that was not ideally kung fu, really, was it? So
no. But again, it's we spoke to a lot of martial artists. Some of them get into the world of dance. We had a good person you just mentioned, Kenny Walton. He did ballet for years because he wanted to help with his flexibility. We've had others that have grown up with martial arts and gymnastics for their performance in katas. So I think it's all complementary, isn't it? At the time, though, as a young person, you don't realise that until you mature and you start understanding. But if you're lucky enough to have that drive in yourself or someone to help push you and say, yeah, you want to do X and you want to do Z. I started doing cross-country running because I wanted to be fitter so I could fight better. Again, totally complimentary. I didn't think so at the time when my dad was dragging me out running around the fields. But in hindsight, it was great. So all those additional skill sets, they can really help consolidate into the world of martial arts.
To be honest,
without a doubt.
I learned quite a lot of that. I learned jazz dancing. I learned African. I learned contemporary. Once I was doing martial arts, I was in the theatre company. That's later on. But as a young guy, I was learning to dance. I remember when I was 14, I used to watch the World Disco Dancing Championship. And I remember some of my cousins used to be very good dancers. And I would be looking at them thinking, how do you do 2 spins in the air? So I would practice things like that. That's why it probably helped me with my balance these days. I used to practice that when I was a young guy. I used to sprint. I used to play football. I used to play football very well, but I had a bad experience with it. So I tend not to talk about it much. But I've even, I was at Bristol Rovers. And for the first time, I told a couple of people what happened. And they were like, what? Yeah, I was at Bristol Rovers. 1979. Back in the old days.
What position did you used to play?
Wing.
So you needed the speed then, right?
There you go. Yeah, but
speed and balance.
Yeah, back then them coach went to
accommodating.
We'll leave it there. If you've done something wrong,
and we talk about this all the time. Things that are right or acceptable 20, 30, 40 years ago. Culture has changed and it's moved on, and those things aren't acceptable today. But you have to, I think, deal with that, and then I suppose move on, don't you?
I jacked that in. I decided to walk away from that and go to martial arts. Being a young man, as a young dude, I think you should always do something that is gonna make you a better person. And if you're in an environment that's negative, you're more likely going to be negative. So I chose to do something positive and being in control of me. If I'm good at martial art, and I could defend myself and I could do what I want, I'm lord of my own castle. You can't come and bully me and tell me anything. I could decide there and then what I do and how I do it.
Sure.
If you're in an environment where it's controlled by others, you're subjected to be going and following what they're, and I didn't want that. You know what I mean? So I chose to do what I'm doing. And as a young guy, I was a big guy, but kind of soft. And I used to get, pushed around a bit and so on. So I decided to train very hard from a very young age. I mean, literally train hard. I mean, some of the trainings I do now, people wouldn't want to do. But I did it from when I was 13 right the way, and I constantly do it now. I run, I do press-ups, I do tuck jumps, I still do duck walks, and I do it in the mud, you know, in the cold weather. And because I realized that as a young person, most likely, you know what I mean, if you look, this is why you see me on the mat and you probably think, God, he's scary. It wasn't. It was because that is the sort of like zone I got in to fight. You know, outside of that, I'm kind of a crazy guy, but you know, I like to joke and that. But when I'm mindset to do something, that's what I'm on. I'm on it. You know what I mean?
It's being able to have that switch, isn't it? It's being able to go have that switch and go from being that nice guy to stepping on the mat and being in the zone to fight somebody eventually. Yeah. At the end of the day, you know, you can't be all smiley and happy, you know, when you got someone like Tony Sewell trying to kick you in the face.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't want to use that. Tony Sewell will kick you in the face. Don't say that because you won't wake up. Don't say that.
That'll be the end. That'll be the end.
So talk us then, Nathan, back to your first competitions, because one of the things we find talking to a lot of martial artists is a pivotal moment in their career is that first competition. So just talk us through that if you can remember it.
You really want to hear this?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You crazy. Listen, back in the day, my instructor is Lloyd Allen, and before him, it was Brian Green, Winston Greenwood.
What style was that, Nathan? Sorry, what style?
It was Lau Gar. I started in Lau Gar from 1978, and I still do it now.
Okay, cool.
However, Ray Gale and Mark Hogbourne, I used to go over and spar with them back in the day because of my friend Barris. Used to do a bit of taekwondo and did kung fu, so I used to go over there and spar. I remember the sports center, so big respect to Ray Gale and Mark Hogbourne, my homies. Yeah. Yeah, so no, my first competition, remember them PK, is it PK? PK karate?
Yeah.
My first competition was not Kung Fu one, it was one of them karate ones, right?
Freestyle.
Yeah. No, it was actual tradition. They made you roll your sleeves down.
Oh, okay.
And Sean Vieira, you know Sean Vieira? You know Sean?
No, not come across him there.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Good fighter. We went there, and this individual lady says, right, now Nathan, listen, gotta go out, you gotta get your point. Now, I never fought before. I just sparred a lot. I'm wild. So I went out, and the first guy, you know, karate, they go yame and bow and fight. Yeah. The first thing I did was a spinning kick after the guy's head. Wild as hell, right? No control. And you can see the ref looking at me, right? This guy swept me. A Gakazuki in the back, boom, hip on, and I'm looking like this.
Game
Fight's
over.
The fight, because it's only 2 points, the fight's over. I'm looking around like this. There's my £4.50, I think was gone. I was like, what happened? What happened? That's my first experience. Swept in the back, turned me around, swept my leg, turned me around, reverse punch to the back, competition finish. Hip on. I was like, what happened? I sat down and I waited for my friend Lee. It happened to him. He comes sit by me. Two of us falling around looking at everybody else fighting, going, what happened? that is my first experience.
What grade were you, Nathan? Were you quite a low belt when you started your first competition?
Yeah, I was blue.
Okay. So how long have you been training roughly?
I think my first competition was about 1981.
Okay.
So I've been training all them times.
So before head guards, before gum shield, you're lucky if you even had some hand pads, right?
Swap hand pads. Yeah. But I used to train a lot of tradition. This is the thing. And what my friend said to me was, look, I used to go, tiger claw, eagle claw, snake crane. And he used to go, Nathan, that don't work in the streets, you know. This is my mate. And I was going, what are you talking about, man? I was going, crane, monkey, he's going, Nath, if you want to know if you can fight, you need to go in these tournaments. So that's why when I went there, I thought, yeah, spinning kick, and it's going to hit him. Not knowing this guy is going to evade you and take you out. Lesson learned. It was like different environment. See, I was training all them times, but traditional. Never actually tournament. And the first lesson I learned was, hello, different, absolutely different structure. You got to be fast on your feet. You got to be. So I learned a lesson there that, look, although your forms might be good or your animal styles or whatever, it does not necessarily mean you can compete with someone. And that was my first lesson.
Yeah, and it's not just the style as well. It's the feeling, isn't it, of how you feel when you step on that mat. You can train in the gym all day long, can't you? Kick a bag and spar. But when you actually step on that mat and you get in that survival mode, your adrenaline's pumping, you feel sick. You know, a lot of people can't cope with that.
I think as the years go on, I trained with a Iranian coach. His name is Amir Smiley. God bless him. He passed away in 2005. His son is Saidi Smiley. He's a wrestler. So I trained with them from 1981 until 2005 till his dad passed. And to be honest, you're gonna know where my strength comes from. I used to pull these things like mini metros and with no engine in it. And we used to pull that with an harness. It's just empty, it's just carcass of the car. And then we pull it about 15 yards, one person at a time, and then press ups and then run off of brutal training. So fitness-wise, after a few years, I didn't worry. That's probably why you see me on the mat the way I was. I didn't worry after that because I knew I was fitter than 99.9% of them. You can hit, but I can hit you, take your hit, keep hitting you and keep hitting you and keep hitting you. So, but that's later on in my thing, you know, in my career and stuff. But again, like I said, at the beginning, no, I was a little bit misguided. And again, my teammate and club friend Sean, I remember going to a tournament, getting a lot better. And I remember this particularly because I was a green belt and I was fighting. And I won the first fight. I hit the guy a little bit hard though, because, you know, points, but I was rough. I had no control. I didn't know I didn't have no control at the time. I just thought I was just fighting. And I was fighting this other guy and I smacked him, bang, take him down. And I lost the fight. And then Sean said to me, he said, come here. He said, it's points. You do not need to kill the guy. He said, look, just pick your points, control what you're doing. He said, focus. He said, steady. He said, you can be a good fighter. He said, but you're going out there to kill people. And I was like, yeah, but you know, he's like, no. He said, look, just get your points, right? And if you have to counter, you know what the deal is. And so I started to think. And then I think a couple of years later, I went to a tournament and I met this guy. This guy was feared. You all know him, Alfie.
Yeah.
And watch him warming up. And I'm like, damn, this guy's leg is going everywhere. I'm like, holy crud. Because at that time, I also was watching people like Steve Babs at the Nationals when I used to go to the National. Frank, I'm thinking, these guys are something. Look at this dude. You know what I mean? He's firing kicks into this pad and jumping around. I'm like, I'm going to beat him one day. That's the standard I want to get to, and I want to beat him. Yeah. And then I'd go back to the Nationals and I'd watch Steve Babs. He's probably the greatest I've ever seen. Kicks from, I'm like, now if I could beat him, and all I could hear in the background is, you got no hope in hell beating him. So I could have talking. You just told, he's good. Now you got no hell in beating him. You know what I mean? And I'm like lining up who I want to beat. And then I went back to this Meister, maybe, I don't know, probably in the 80s. If I can remember, I don't think I got it on Betamax, because I normally collect tape, but I got a photo of it. And I remember fighting Ivor Priest. Good fighter. Good legs. And at that time, I got flexible. And I peppered him with kicks, because I remember what I saw Alfie do it. I remember what Steve, and this time I used what Sean said, pick your points. So I was becoming fat, but still heavyweight, bah, 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 bah. And I pick him apart, and I won the fight convincingly, and I had this trophy. And it's probably my first place trophy, and I had it. And then Alfie gave it to me. So I'm taking this trophy, and Alfie's joking, kissing me on top of my head and going, yeah. He's going, yeah, you're going to be good one day. Him saying that to me, I looked and I thought, he said, I'm going to be good. And then he said, keep that up. You're going to be good one day. And I thought, this dude, this guy's got a record. This guy's an animal. And he says, I'm going to be good. That's it. Yeah. That's it. If nobody needs to tell me anything, you know what I mean? All my clubmates were saying I was going to be good, and I believed them.
Yeah.
But you think I got trained. When he told me that, and it sank into my head, along with what Lloyd said, that was it. I was training, I think we had clubs 3 times a week was a club. I started training 4 days, at least 3. When I come back from work, I was gone. I ran, I did everything. It was like somebody just turned a switch, and I wasn't going to turn it off. I was off.
It's funny how things like that really stay with you, though, isn't it, as well? Certain things that really light that fire within inside you. I mean, we talk about this all the time on the podcast. In today's society, people get awards for doing nothing. They get praise for doing next to nothing. But in the old style martial arts environment, you didn't used to get praise from your instructor. Your instructor was just beating you and telling you off and beating you. And one day they turn around and say something like, yeah, that was a good kick, Gavin. And you think, wow, I can't believe I just got that from my instructor. All he's done is beast me and tell me off, and he's given. But you never forget those compliments, where the youngsters these days get compliments for everything, and they get awarded for everything. And it makes you wonder how, a lot of the youngsters aren't going to get have that fire.
I think we call it the red switch. We call it a red switch because you need to turn it on and off. And the one thing we notice is, and I don't want to knock young generation of today. The one thing I notice, and I notice it not just at a local level, but at national level, when they go behind, there is a gate closed that says, oh, it's over. I've been taught, like I said, I spent time in Jamaica, and the Jamaicans have taught me one thing. We don't take part, what they say. We come to win. That's what they say. Yeah. If we don't win, we learn from why we lose. That's Jamaica. You look at any of it, that's what I learned in primary school. So I come here and I tell my children that. Do not take part. Give 100%. Be fair, be square, and leave it there and learn from it. If you lose, learn from it. The fact is, me in martial art, why I reckon I was that successful, you watch, you look at all my, I never curse the referee. I never ever look and why you haven't given me a point. Never ever. Do you know why? Because he's not in control of...
So it's not the ref's fault, is it? It's you that's got to make that action. If he hasn't seen it, it's because you didn't let him see it. You didn't make it clear enough.
I'm not there to be looking at ref and go, sometimes I'd go, well, I'd look at my coach and go, but at the end of the day, as I start to fight, I learned something. I said, you know what, that referee's here to protect him from me. That's as simple as how I look at him. I beat him, and I always tell that coach, I always nickname, I said, I'm the Muhammad Ali of this sport. I always used to say that. Clifton Finley always used to laugh at me and say, yeah, you always said that. I always said that, and people laugh. I said, no, serious. I said, there's only 2 of us, Muhammad Ali and me. Right? And people laugh at it, but it's a zone. You get in that zone and at the end of the day, I've done the best training in the world. No matter what you're doing, you ain't going to beat me. Now, I'm not saying I haven't lost, but I've won more than I've lost. And I've fought some great fighters over the years. No matter who they say, I've fought and beaten some of the best world fighters. But the lesson I've learned when I started was this. When I met Alfie and I sparred with him in 1980, I think it's 88 or 87. Now, this is true. And this guy, I remember it till this, I will never forget it. He chucked a low round kick, and as I went down, he reversed it and came up with a hook kick, hit me here, and then when I went to block it, he ridged on me this side, right? And he went, go, do it, and he came out, and I thought, can't do that to me. You know what I mean? And then, but this is before tournament, like sparring, just generally warming up. And I thought, I just kept coming at him. But I knew he knew what I was doing. I was learning the techniques he was doing and watching what he would find. People think that I learned by just going to the squad training in Great Britain. I actually learned a lot on the karate tournament in Wales, sparring Alfie, sparring Ray Gale, Mark Ogborn. I actually learned a lot. So when I was at a certain level, my sort of like arsenal, if you like, was quite different to everybody. I didn't have to do what they did. You know what I mean? If you were kicking, I'd use my hands. And if you were using your hands, I'd use my legs. I never use what you're using because I think you have to be very smart. In the latter half of when I was fighting, a lot of people were using their legs. And people said, oh, Megatron always using their hands. I'm actually a kicker, believe it or not. I'm a kicker. Yeah. But I realized on the circuit, right, that people were either kicking better than I did, or they were scoring better with their points, so I didn't bother. I went to my hands. And when I went to my hands, I was winning. So I don't change a winning formula.
What was your favourite technique? Can you talk us your favourite technique in those competing days?
What, early days?
Or combination, or favourite combo, or favourite
early days or later days?
It's up to you. You can do early and late.
Because it's funny, because in the early days, I used to love catching people with a combo of like, I used to flick round kicks off the front leg, and I used to do about 4 or 5 of them. Actually, Peter O'Para got took out with that technique. I got a video of it actually. I hit him with about 4 round kicks, one to the stomach, and he's blocking them, so they're not going in. Or they're called shy kicks. They're like that, and then
That's it. They're the lead, aren't they? That's just one taking your mind off things for what's coming off the back leg.
Around the top of the hook kick and slapped him in his head. And he stood in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the mat, and he looked at me and and actually, that was his instructor's kick. That was Alfie's kick from 1988. Low, up top.
Yeah.
And I
move
used
the guard around.
Yeah. so yeah, you know what I mean? Again.
And what about now? What about your favourite technique now? What do you use now?
Anything that works.
Yeah. Okay.
I've evolved. Anything that works. I wouldn't know what my favorite technique is. I don't know what my favorite leg is. If I kick with my right leg, I can kick with my right leg at 180 degrees. I kick with my left leg at 180 degrees, right or left. It doesn't matter anymore. I try to be versatile. Now, I'm not saying that it will be 100% accurate. I like to think it be accurate, but you gotta be realistic. It may not reach. But yeah, I train to use both hands.
Who was talk us through some of your best fights and the people that you fought.
One of my best fights is fighting one of my idols. Actually, 2 of my idols. One of my best fights is fighting Alfie Lewis. Fighting me in Cheshire. I fought him 3 times. And he whooped me the first time so badly. When I come home, I didn't even want to talk to nobody. I know how George Foreman feel when he got knocked down by Halley in Rumbling Jungle. I know exactly how he feels. I want to know I'm like, I'm supposed to be the new prince. I've got to dethrone this king. And he just whooped me. And
can I stop you there? Really important, because it's quite an important moment there. You got whooped. What did you do about it? So you went home. You didn't want to talk to anybody. What was going on in your mind? Because I think that's quite key to understand that of the fight.
I was processing the techniques that he hit me with and how fast he was in and out and what angles he gave me and how he set me up. And I was trying, because I had no video of that fight, and I was thinking, how the hell did he hit me with that low round kick? I had a guard, I call it a matrix, which is side on. Because at that time I was, quite, good standard. I was in the British team. I was like, how in the hell did he hit me with that? I had it covered. You see what I mean? And I was processing that, and I was like, and I stood there. Why didn't I move left? You know what I mean? And if I moved left, he would have, but then I could have hit him with a side kick. And I start thinking, you numbs. Why are you trying to kick with a kicker? Why didn't you just blitz him? And why didn't you fake the blitz and come back and over the top? And I was like, oh my God, you messed up, kid. You know what I mean? So I went and trained. when I was sparring, I switched from my left side because I was orthodox, and I started fighting southpaw. Yeah, I have this southpaw. Messed him about a bit, hit with the left hand. So I was analysing exactly what I'd done wrong and how to beat him. But then again,
And
when I
did
fought
it work on the second fight?
he whooped me again. And I'm like, because what you got to remember is experience is a great thing. You know, you got to understand this, right? When you're experienced, you see it coming before it comes. And if you have used a technique that they have invented, even though you have moved it into your realm and change it, the similarities they can see. Because trust me, that's what I see when I became, good at what I was doing. So I kind of understand. So I thought, right, to beat this guy, I've got to move at pace that he can't follow. So I invented this thing called a 6-1, 6-2, 5-1, 5-8. It's a pace that you fight. That's what I train in. And if anyone comes to train with me, they'll know. And I invented this thing called a pressure cooker, which is where you put yourself under the most pressure, but you don't relent. You never give in. You attack and you stay. So I decided, right, I'm going to do this. And then when I went to, I think it's Chester, I fought him. And I thought, have this. And I laid it on, and I wasn't backing off. Kicks coming, they're coming in at that height. If I move, the hands are going. If I switch, the legs are coming. If whatever stance I'm in, it's going to come natural. It's not going to be forced. It's not going to be labored. It's going to come natural. And yeah, I won. And Alfie had no ill feeling. He told me in '88 that I was going to be a champion one day. And I was. And, he gave me a massive hug and he says, yeah, I felt good. He said he felt good about it. He had no
animosity, just respect.
No.
It happens with fighters, doesn't it?
Yeah, he just.
There's only, I think, two things that I say is going to happen. One, in life, you're going to die, and if you're a fighter, someone's going to beat you.
Yeah.
Because time is coming up against you. There's somebody moving up and there's somebody moving down, and there's a transition point. It's hard to accept.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to accept.
Yeah. Honestly, you get beat. I got beat, but I'll tell you, there's other people in there. You got Alvin Mighty, you got Peter Edwards, Neville Ray is very influential as a national coach in my development. So I cannot knock him, leave him out. I should say I cannot leave him out. As well as my instructor Lloyd Allen. This man has been a driving force and inspiration behind me becoming who I am. He's always told me, he said, you've got the most energy, just push, just go, keep going, never ever a negative word, always keep going, and he has never ever been on like the cover of magazine. He's never ever like limelight. He's always pushing his students, go on, get out there, you know what I mean? And I can remember, again, I must remember Dave Baptiste, what a guy he is. Always used to say to me, and he told me something that changed my fighting aspect, the way I fight. I was fighting once, I think it's Tony Sykes. And he turned around, he pulled me to one side and he said, stop fighting for the crowd. Let's see you fight. You, fight for you. Let me see you fight. That was it. That's another thing someone told me. So when I come out to fight, that's probably why you see me look scary. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to whoop whoever's on that mat, and there is no apology until after we're going to be friends. And so these encounters I have with all these fighters bring me through my life as being, if you're going to do something, you have to be single-minded. And it might be so single-minded, people might think you're arrogant. And yes, it's arrogant to the sport, but not to the individual people. So I was very arrogant when it comes to fight. I was arrogant because I want to win. I didn't mean it disrespectfully to people, but I want to win. I want to be the best there is. You know what I mean? Especially in that era. That era of fighting, I swear to you, you go to a tournament, there was 14 sheets for one area.
And they were all good fighters as well. There was all good fighters, weren't there, as well in them days? Because you didn't enter those type of divisions if you wasn't a good fighter, because you're just going to get your ass handed to you on a plate in the first round.
Yeah. There's 4 fighters in one division now. I heard. I don't know because I don't go to the tournament. And please, guys, I'm not knocking you, but where I was fighting, the foam mitts that we were using, they're using MMA now.
Yeah.
We were using that in Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, little bumper mitts. We say about all the time, don't we? We used to get these little bumper mitts that just about covered your knuckles. You had your fingers showing so you could get them in the eye.
I lost 3 teeth. 3 down here. I had to replace. I'm telling you, Pele kicked me and then had my left eye damaged with his toenail. Yeah, this is about. And I can remember. I don't know if people remember some of these guys from Aston Lau back then.
Yeah, Aston Lau guy,
yeah.
Vince Lewis, great big brother. Big respect to him, he's passed away, God rest his soul. Very lovely guy. Alvin Mighty. All these guys have always said to me, you know me.
Sharon Gill. Sharon Gill was in.
Sharon Gill, she's in our club.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's a fantastic fighter.
Yeah, we've been trying to get Sharon on the show, so.
Yeah, you should, and she'll tell you. I would tell you before she tell you, because she'll shame me up. She came to the club because her instructor was Trevor Johnson, great guy. I trained with him as well. He passed away, God rest his soul. Fantastic guy, inspiration. And I must mention, there was a karate guy, Igashi guy from Bristol called Henry Cornwall, passed away as well, God rest his soul. Very inspirational to people in Bristol. Myself as well with a reverse punch, very, very nice guy. If you talk to him about anything, he'd have time for you. So there's a lot of things and people that I owe my sort of like, you know, upbringing to. We call them elders because they were older than us.
Yeah.
You're talking like my first fighting instructor, Winston Greenwood, full contact guy. Without him, I don't think I'd be sitting here. I mean, he was awesome and he trained all of us. And did he whoop us? Yes, he whooped us. And he told us, you have to be able to take knocks to give knocks. And maybe not the right thing today, but for me, that worked.
Certainly the right message, maybe not the right application for today, but the messaging doesn't change, does it?
No.
You know, how you implement that, you know, today it's different, of course, because we're in a different society. But the message is exactly the same, you know.
Yes.
And I think martial arts, certainly for me, for Gavin, for most martial artists, it's an environment where we can have those elders, mentors, coaches to give us that, not just a push into martial arts, but things that we can use in everyday life.
Yeah. It's about taking what you learn from the martial art and transfer it into your everyday life. So I don't think there's anything, and I'm touch wood, anything I choose to do, I will excel in it. People probably look and go, well, what do you mean? No.
Well, that's a good segue onto your acting career. We've not touched on obviously your transition into the movies. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that? How that started?
You can blame Mike Lambert for that. No, you know, I was in a theatre company, and this is true. I was in a theatre company called Arts Opportunity Theatre, and it changed to Art Freedom Theatre. This was a theatre that you have to audition. You really needed skills to get in there. You had to be able to sing or dance, and for me, I was an outright dancer, so I learned some dance when I went there, contemporary ballet. Then I learned guitar. So I auditioned and got in there. I got in there. I did all that training, and for a while, a couple of years, and then I went and did extra 2 years, but probably maximum about 4 years. Maximum about 4 years in all right. Still carried on fighting, still doing whatever. And one day, I did, I think the first Casualty, I was extra in it, running around, doing all this stuff. And then I think I did a stunt course for, I think it's called, I can't remember, Sterling something stunt course in Manchester Studio. Jumping, full burn. I did a half burn and a full burn to boxes. People didn't know this. I've done that. And then early in, I can't remember when was it, but Mike called me one day. One of my friends called me one day and they said to me, I don't think it was Mike. I think somebody else called me and they said, I can't remember the dude. He said, can you do me a favor? And he says, I want you to help me do this fight sequence for this guy. I want you to, just do his falls. And I was like, nah, I don't do that. You know what I mean? I'm an actor. I think it was actually Mike. I said, I'm an actor. I don't, I want to learn to act. And he goes, it's a guy, he goes, with a face like that, you gonna be an actor. And I'm like, dude, you know what? I was like, but he's joking. And I was like, he's going, no, I'm joking, he's going, just do this and let's see how it goes. And I've done it. And as an action actor, so you're doing an action and screen fight. And then my friend, homeboy Mike, called me one day and he said, Nath, I want to help me out, I want to do this stuff for me. And I thought, yeah, sure, Mike, I'm good on there. So I went there. and I went down and he goes to me, oh yeah, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but I do theater. He goes, Nath, you're no Denzel. I pretty much say what the other guy said. And I'm like, what are these guys keep looking at my face, man? I'm thinking, I didn't get much hit when I was doing the fighting, so that's when you start looking at yourself. Thinking, did I get much hit? But they were like joking, you know what I mean? But also for courses, and being an action actor, because that's what I do. I do actions for other actors and a bit of stunt and the fight sequences and stuff. And then, yeah, I just started doing a bit more here and there, and I got a few works to do with other people. And then I met this guy called Ray Nicholas, and on a set of Tarzan, this guy from Liverpool, what a character he was. And he got me to do some jumps off some high stuff. I didn't want to jump, I'm a retired firefighter as well, so being up high was good, climbing a ladder. Great, this is fantastic.
Yeah, jumping off it, not so good.
There you go, my man. He goes, right, and now what we want you to do is, and I'm looking down like this, and the first thing I said is, how many black man jump off of this sort of thing? You know what I mean? That's what I think, but there is, but I'm like looking at myself thinking, I don't. He goes, just jump. So I went, and I'm telling you, those cartoons where the eyebrows left up there and
yeah.
But yeah, I started doing a bit of action acting and stuff like that, and I just continue to do that now. But I would say this: I would love to be able to do something along the way of like just showing that there is a bit more to the art than just kicking or punching. There's a drama side to it. I've done a few drama side in and it's been on Sky and stuff. So it's quite good, but I'd like to do a bit more, but with the action to show that you can do that. So I don't know, later, I'm getting a bit old now, so I don't know how long I'm going to wait or how long I'm going to hunt it. Maybe I have to go in and give them a reverse punch to give me a script or something. But yeah, to say my career, moving over to acting, I wouldn't say it's like roses or big, but it is a good transformation and I'm enjoying it.
It's a tough industry, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a tough industry. You a lot of actors are, and it's not the most well-paid industry, is it? Unless you get a really big part. There's a lot of.
I like that. It's not the well-paid. You mean the minions like us don't get paid?
Unless you are Denzel, obviously.
No, I'm not.
Of course,
I must say though, and I'll say this on air because. Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace. Love the guy's action, love his film Black Panther, and I love that film. When I saw that, I thought there's hope for me. I thought, wow, I'm gonna do something that's what that man made me.
Yeah, they should have picked you, shouldn't they? They should have casted you for it, I reckon.
Nah, they casted the right man for the Black Panther. I just think for me, it just made me think there's a lot of scope for me. You know what I mean? After seeing stuff like that, I think there's a lot of scope. I can do a lot of things, and it's just keep applying myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have to take my hat off to the man that, like that, you know.
Well, he was only young as well, wasn't he? He was only young.
Yeah,
It's a shame.
yes. I have to give him utmost respect for what he did. But yeah, I would definitely like some more. Like, I mean, they're making lots of action films like Batman, and they're making a lot of Bond films. But I'm gonna go on a record and say it. Those bad guys, to be honest, right? Those bad guys, they don't look bad to me. I don't think. No. You know, no disrespect for the acting. I would say 9 words in a movie, and the rest of the action. I bet any producer 9 words, and my action will make you would go, I don't like that dude. I don't want him in. You would have nightmares. I mean, look, come to you would be literally.
We're not going to sleep tonight. You know.
You'd literally go. Oh my God, nightmares. I mean, I come into a room and I just look at you and you would. You know what I mean? I look at some of these bad guys. I'm thinking, you don't look scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's no wonder we were scared as 14-year-old boys, Jackie.
Exactly, yeah.
It's an act. It's an act.
I know. Nathan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It really has. And hearing some of your fantastic stories. Unfortunately, we've got to wrap it up there for today. But you know what? I think most definitely with you, there's a part 2, because I think we've only just scratched the tip of the iceberg with you.
I would love to.
You just got one question we'd like to ask before we finish, though, Nathan.
Sure.
So there's a couple of questions that we always ask our guests. Is so tell us what motivates you? What keeps you motivated every day?
Life itself. I don't need anything to motivate me. To be honest, I am that word. I get up and I want to train. As you see me, I'm sitting in here. You see, I'm sitting like this now. You see, and I'm like this. You see, there you go. So I'm self-motivated, self-driven, and I've always been like that since I was 14. I want to show. I don't know what to show off, but I want to just express myself. Brilliant. So I motivate myself, self-driven.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Well, listen,
okay,
it's been.
Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Great having you on, and all the best for the future. And hopefully, we'll see you in some more movies sometime soon.
Let's hope so. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Okay. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, cool.
I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of the Motivated Martial Artist podcast. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group, the Motivated Martial Artist podcast.
And don't forget also the Motivated Martial Artist Instagram page.
So head along for some extra content, interviews, and much more.
So until next week, it's bye from Jackson
and Gavin,
the Motivated Martial Artists.